It started with the smell, faint at first like damp earth after rain, but soon it became unbearable, a stench of decay that seeped through the walls. Then came the scratching, slow, deliberate, as if something was trapped inside. But when we finally tore open the walls, what we found wasn't just dead animals, it was something far worse.
I should have never moved into that house. From the moment I stepped inside, something felt wrong. Not just eerie, but deeply, disturbingly wrong. The air was thick with an almost rancid stench, something rotting just beyond my reach. I convinced myself it was an old house smell, nothing more. After all, it had been abandoned for years. But I was wrong. So very, very wrong. It started with the scratching sounds. At first, I thought it was just mice, maybe rats. The house was old and pests were expected. But these noises were different. The scratching wasn't just random. It was rhythmic, like something trapped behind the walls was desperately trying to get out. Late at night, the sounds would intensify, moving through the walls as if whatever was inside was following me from room to room. Then came the smell. It grew worse with each passing day. Thick, pungent, almost sweet in the most sickening way. No matter how much I cleaned, sprayed air freshener, or opened windows, it only got stronger. The neighbors avoided my house. The mailman wouldn't step past the porch. I started waking up to find flies buzzing around the vents, crawling out from tiny cracks in the walls. One night, as I lay in bed, the scratching turned into something else. A whispering. It was faint, almost like a breath against my ear coming from inside the walls. My heart pounded as I pressed my ear against the cold plaster, holding my breath. "Let me out," a voice rasped from the other side. I stumbled backward, my skin crawling, my mind racing. I told myself it was just my imagination. I was exhausted, paranoid, but then I saw it. A long, jagged crack in the wall, appearing overnight as if something was pushing from the inside. That was the moment I decided I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to find out what was hiding inside my walls. With trembling hands, I grabbed a crowbar and pried open the first board. The stench that hit me was indescribable. A putrid wave of death so strong I gagged. As I shone my flashlight inside, my breath caught in my throat. Eyes. So many eyes. Lining the narrow space between the walls were dozens of dead animals. Rats, birds, even cats, their bodies mummified, their mouths frozen in silent screams. But what made my blood run cold was that some of them weren't fully decayed. Some were fresh. Too fresh. Then something moved. A low, wet, scraping sound echoed from deeper inside the wall. My flashlight flickered. The space beyond the corpses was dark, but I could feel it. Something was watching me. And then a hand, thin, pale, fingers too long and tipped with cracked nails, shot out from the darkness, grabbing my wrist. I screamed, dropping the flashlight. The grip was ice cold, the fingers digging into my skin like claws. I yanked myself free and staggered back, my heart hammering. The darkness inside the wall seemed to breathe, pulsing like something alive. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I could feel it. The thing inside the walls, waiting, watching, hungry. The next day, I called a contractor. I told him I needed to tear down the walls, that something wasn't right. He arrived with his crew, laughing off my fear. But as soon as they opened the walls completely, their faces turned pale. One of them dropped his hammer, his hands shaking. There, inside the walls, were not just dead animals, but human bones. The workers refused to stay. They left without finishing the job. I was alone again, trapped in a house filled with the bones of the forgotten. And then, that night, it got worse. The walls began to move. I watched, frozen in horror as the rotting corpses shifted, tumbling forward as if something was crawling out from behind them. My breath hitched, and then it stepped out. A figure too tall, its limbs bending the wrong way, its face a hollow, gaping void where its eyes should have been. I ran. I don't remember grabbing my keys. I don't remember locking the door behind me. I just ran until my lungs burned and my legs gave out. When I looked back at the house, I saw it. A shadow moving inside, staring at me from the gaping hole in the wall. I never went back. The house still stands, empty. But sometimes at night, when I pass by, I can hear it. The scratching, whispering, waiting. And if you ever hear something moving inside your walls, never open them. If you liked this story, make sure to subscribe for more terrifying true horror stories. Stay safe and stay out of the walls. The stench hit first, thick, putrid, and suffocating. When Daniel moved into the old Victorian house on Blackwood Lane, he expected creaky floors and drafty windows, but not the overwhelming scent of decay that seeped through the walls. At first, he blamed the smell on old wood or mold, but as days passed, the odor only worsened. Nights were restless. The air carried a sickly sweet aroma of rotting flesh. Even the cat, Midnight, refused to enter certain rooms, staring at the walls with dilated pupils and bristling fur. Determined to solve the mystery, Daniel peeled away layers of aged wallpaper in the worst-smelling room. As he stripped the final layer, his breath hitched. A grotesque sight revealed itself. Embedded between the wooden beams were carcasses, dozens of them, contorted and crammed into the narrow gaps. The flesh had long since rotted, leaving behind leathery husks, bones, and empty eye sockets that seemed to stare back at him. But what unsettled him most was the unnatural way they were arranged, as if something or someone had deliberately placed them there. Horrified, Daniel called in an exterminator, who grimly informed him that this was no ordinary case of vermin infestation. "This isn't natural," the man murmured, wiping sweat from his brow. "Animals don't just crawl into walls and die like this. Someone put them here." That night, the house came alive. Scratching sounds echoed through the walls, growing in intensity, like claws raking against the wood. The whispering followed, soft at first, then insistent. "Let us out. Let us out." The voices crawled into his ears, invading his mind. Shadows moved where there was no light and the air turned frigid. Midnight howled, her fur standing on end as she hissed at something unseen. Desperate, Daniel began researching the house's history. What he found sent ice through his veins. In the 1920s, a reclusive taxidermist named Edgar Grayson had lived there. Known for his obsession with preserving lifeless things, he had disappeared without a trace. The town whispered that he had gone mad, practicing dark rituals to trap souls within bodies long after death. His victims were not just animals. Some believed he had moved on to human subjects before vanishing. Determined to rid himself of the nightmare, Daniel decided to tear down the walls. Armed with a crowbar, he smashed through the plaster, revealing more hidden horrors. Among the carcasses, he found something far worse: human remains, twisted and bound in burlap, their mouths sewn shut. The house seemed to exhale as the spirits were unearthed, the air vibrating with rage and sorrow. Then a deafening shriek filled the room, and darkness swallowed him whole. When Daniel came to, he was no longer in his home. He was in the walls, staring out through cracks in the wood. His screams went unheard. Outside, a new tenant admired the house, commenting on its charm, unaware of the unseen eyes watching from within, waiting for the cycle to begin again. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, make sure to subscribe for more terrifying true horror stories. And remember, some walls hold secrets that should never be uncovered.